How do you think that DIY artists can kind of bring these grander activations to life?
I am digging through all the newest topics about what is possible with programming and AI and marketing and automation to really begin to understand how artists at scale can be more creative from a digital perspective in the ways that my work and a lot of people's work in music has been for a long time for more of the medium to high tier artists. In general, we should just, first of all, go backwards a little bit and honestly think about the goals and how the simplicity of a concept can actually lead to a better return. But the point of these types of projects for me has always been attention. Um, if we're doing the same thing that every other artist is doing, um, it's hard to rise above the surface. So the point of this work that I've been doing has always been to kind of differentiate oneself. So lean into your thematics and really think about, what am I singing about? What is the aesthetic of my album? And is there something simple here that can be achieved that connects to a particular goal, which for most people would probably be driving streams, but you would also argue that maybe it's something more defensible like capturing data. I worked for an artist this year, huge K-pop artist, Jin, and what we did was a glorified data capture campaign. Like, we built a little rotary phone that young K-pop fans had to decipher how to dial, and we hid, kind of like little assets from the upcoming release, photos, behind codes that they had to figure out by dialing, almost like a Wordle, in some regard. In front of this game was a data capture, and it was wildly successful for them, but also very simple. I'm sure most artists can look at what they're putting out and, to start with, envision like kind of a fun data capture campaign. Like, if I had something as simple as an email capture and I put it next to like a visualization of those emails coming through as they happen, as they're captured, would it encourage more people to want to give their email to the list, you know? Or as you said, like a ticker that shows how many people are currently on the site. Would that in turn be like, well, there's other people here like participating in the sign up, you know what I'm saying?
Or even asking people to submit a photo and then making that part of like a larger collage that eventually unlocks something. And
Correct.
like you can create like a photo submission thing. I could figure out a janky way to do it in 5 minutes on MailChimp,
Hmm.
right? Or Google Forms,
Yes.
where it's like upload here and you know what I mean? And then you could like, and I think sometimes that people underestimate, like, I think artists sometimes underestimate how much fans want to be involved.
Yes. There aren't a lot of avenues for multi-participant experiences in music. I don't think I'm wrong to say that. Like, we have the live show. Occasionally we have like a live music video premiere, but there aren't a lot of bespoke marketing activations that really kind of shed light on the massive participation, because there's a big difference between being a individual on a site and there being even 20 people on the site. There's just a different
Yeah.
feeling there. So it is interesting. It sort of connects it with this sort of camaraderie we feel at a live show, but kind of translating it to the digital experience. I wanted to kind of rewind to talk specifically about, like, first of all, simplify the concept. You don't need to print 3D coins and create fucking jukeboxes, but if you wanna do that, I mean, by all means, like, let's chat about that, let's do something fun. But the infrastructure by which this stuff is done now is certainly becoming more democratized. Unless you've been living under a rock, like, a lot of AI programming models are now available for free or low charge, that allows you to basically program anything. Looking at like things like Lovable, Claude, and I think to get started, I think to experiment, what's the harm in going type in some rather fun concepts around particular project goals, you know? I haven't found myself typing into these prompts as much, though I have had to experiment with all of this stuff in my own work just to see what kind of help it might unlock. I don't want to go into a straight plug, but I did start a new YouTube channel where I am like traversing
It's super helpful.
these exact topics. I appreciate that. For me, it's like this stuff is happening. I've always, similar to you, similar to Jesse, similar to everyone on your pod, hold in high regard the job to educate those on the knowledge that I have. And I've always tried to educate people on the projects that I built and what I used to do it. But um I wasn't blind to the fact that unless I was going to do it, you would need to hire a programmer to accomplish these things for you unless you were a programmer, right? And that's a huge frustration. I like to inspire, but I couldn't necessarily execute. And on the side, I built a lot of software projects that scaled up some of the ideas that I had, like Turn and Listening Party, Vinyl Mockup, things like that. But there was always a frustration there that I could get artists excited, but I couldn't help them execute on implementing these things into their campaigns. But the fact of the matter is that stuff has been democratized.
Hi, if you're enjoying this video, there's a full 60-minute interview. This is an excerpt of that interview, and you're missing out on content that's only available for our YouTube members. Click the join button on our YouTube channel, and you can get access for just $5 a month to 2 extra segments and our full interviews with the smartest people in the music business discussing how to get your music heard. Please support it as we have bills to pay to make this content for you. That's been my experience, like as someone who knows some programming basics. And, like, for years, I've always had to, like, edit and update my own websites. And, like, I have, like, a webmaster, but sometimes, you have to just get something done now. I always known, like, basics of coding, but I've never been, like, able to do it. But just having AI tools that help me, like, I can walk me through, like, how do I connect this to this? And also for me personally, I learn a lot better from reading than from video. And so it's like, oh, but you can make this a super specific thing rather than opening up 8 different blog posts and hoping one of them is like the exact Substack that you need to, you know what I mean? Or
Yes,
eventually breaking down and calling someone smarter than me. I'm very fortunate to be related to a computer scientist. Shout out to the day I broke a certain very large artist website and had to call this relative crying.
sure.
And they
Yeah.
fixed it for me.
Bail, bail
Uh,
me out.
um, while the manager was in the other room, not knowing what was going on.
Yeah, not to go off on a tangent here, but like I do a lot of work with the hosting company Netlify. The recent video I posted on my channel is a little bit more technical, but it really isn't if you look at it closely. Netlify is historically a website host, and they introduced this new feature called an agent runner. This is an AI programming module that lives on their dashboard, and you can basically type in the problem that you're currently facing on the site, and the agent, the AI model, will go in, make the adjustment, and send you a preview of it. So, in the case of you and your friend, you could have said, whatever I did last broke the site. Can you go investigate, attempt to fix it, and send me a preview of it functioning? You would then have a link to sort of say, this is not just the future, it is the present. So I encourage artists to look at all this stuff. Of course, I encourage them to come to the channel and watch me kind of deal with the reality of it. And like, I am not a proponent of AI by any means. I mean, we're all going to die. I have it written on my shirt. But I'm also a technologist first and foremost. Like, I'm really interested in technology really interested in the problems of music and marketing artists, it's interesting to just go look at what it is and not be afraid of it, to at least understand it. And that's sort of the point of the channel. It's like, look, I haven't taken a close look at this stuff, but let's look at it alongside some of our traditional problems and some of our traditional data streams and see how this can accomplish things differently, or how it even fails at accomplishing things that might be much simpler in a traditional fashion. It's a huge curiosity. Yeah, this is my mind spinning about all of it, you know? Like everyone, of course, there's this like fear of being replaced, but I know the programming was never the hard part. It was trying to come up with fun fucking ideas, like, it's difficult to walk the line between music, marketing, technology, fandom, goals, all the stakeholders to try and like make something that is compelling. But it's why I kind of start with some simplification. I mean, I've spent 2 decades trying to get simpler and simpler and simpler because we're on the web. There's just so much noise. What are you presenting that grabs someone's attention? And what sort of promise are you making where they're keen to participate in it? And how quickly can you make good on that promise? You know, it doesn't have to be grandiose, it can be quite simple.
And I think that's, and I think what a lot of this kind of ties back into is using it as a tool for community building or deep research.
Mm.
And I feel like this is where I see people falling down because you'll see these criticisms that it's like, oh, well, it's just to like make crappy pictures or like
Yeah.
collate like fucking Google like pages and Reddit threads. And it's like,
Yes.
yes, but no, because like the way like something we're doing with my company, right? And you and I have talked about this at length, is we are building out like reports for artists where it's like, you want to play these 15 cities? Here's the venues, promoters, and artists who are relevant to you in those cities.
Yes.
And to me, that's like, yes, you can do that by Googling, but like
Or talking to
this,
someone, you know?
yeah. And ultimately, you are still gonna need, in most cases, to talk to someone or to but I feel like this brings the world together, you know what I mean? In a way that I think you can't actually really do on your own. To build a report like the reports we're building in 5 minutes would take hours at minimum.
Yes, I mean, the word here is scalability, right? I mean, if I could, as you, I'm sure, feel, sit with every indie artist in the world, it would be so lovely. We could have coffees for the rest of time. I would love to do that. But even in my software work, I've looked at the idea of scale, and if a little bit of automation can unlock kind of personalized knowledge at scale, it's a good thing. It's a good thing as long as we grasp all of the implications of the technology that we're utilizing. And even things like crappy photos, crappy videos, like, yes, that is a big part of it. But I certainly seek out the parody in my work, the twisted vision, that I would look at some of this stuff and the absurdity of it and lean into it if you were going to utilize some of that stuff. Like the web loves weird stuff and AI is good at producing weird stuff. Is that a commodity for you somehow in your music? Is that something you can wield and not necessarily like lie to yourself and think you're going to be making like a feature length film with it? Can you do it in a small way that solves a particular task for you? Or should you just be hiring a professional to accomplish that task? We're going to look at it each time, like, and really like make some decisions about it. It's interesting.